Okay, hi, how are you? Welcome to Breakfast All Day from the friendly confines of the Palos Verdes Peninsula. Christy and Matt and Alonso, good to
Aloha.
see you on this Saturday morning.
Howdy.
So let's move on now to Dolemite is My Name, which as I was watching it, I realized has a lot in common with Joker, which we will get to eventually. Who wants to describe Dolemite?
I will.
Okay.
But then I want you to explain how this
I
works.
will.
All right. So Rudy Ray Moore is a aspiring star. He's recorded music. He's done stand-up, and he currently works in the Dolphins record store in Los Angeles. Struggling to get by, struggling to make it big. He's from Arkansas. He's moved to LA to pursue his dream, and kind of hasn't really gone anywhere. And decides that he's going to take some of the classic jokes and lines and rhymes that he's heard from the bums on the street and some of the guys that were in prison and turn that into his act and create a character called Dolemite. And lo and behold, it's a huge hit. He sells a bunch of records underground because nobody will release the records because they're too dirty until they decide to. And then he decides to make a movie, but nobody wants him to give the money. So nobody wants to give him the money. So then he makes it himself. And then that turns out to be a hit. And lo and behold, Dolemite ends up being this huge phenomenon almost through sheer strength of will of Rudy Ray Moore. And this movie is hilarious, and it features a terrific performance by Eddie Murphy and a great performance by Wesley Snipes, who we've not seen put in something great in a long time. This movie's hilarious, and I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, at least since World War II, we always talk about movies, generally speaking, as like the director, and this is what the director makes, and what the what's a Hitchcockian film or what's a John Ford film. And I think one of the last of the great sort of screenwriter auteurs is the team of Larry Karazewski and Scott Alexander, who did Ed Wood and The People versus Larry Flint and Big Eyes. And I think this movie very much is in keeping with their sort of like outsiders with a crazy dream who make a thing happen and impact the culture, even though the culture does not want them. There's a lot of Ed Wood in this movie. There's a dollop even of Larry Flint in terms of fighting against censorship and what people will accept in terms of, adult material. But the real story here is Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy is a movie star, and he reminds us that he is a movie star in this movie because he's amazing.
There's a lot of fun meta stuff to be had here with watching Eddie Murphy play a character who is like clawing back toward, attention and respect and respectability. There's so much of the swagger of what made him, like the beginning, the whole big spiel he gives in the beginning is like vintage, fast talking, raunchy, inappropriate, hilarious Eddie Murphy. And that's like a blast to watch off the top. This is a surprisingly sweet movie. It's incredibly inappropriate. Like they say motherfucker like 375 times, I think. But it's also got this really kind of classic, like, let's put on a show energy because no one really knows what they're doing. But like through sheer will and the help of unpaid UCLA film school students led by Cody Smith McPhee, they get this made. And it's hilarious.
Yeah, like it's almost weirdly sexless in a way. Like there are no...
The sex scene is a jokey sex scene.
Well, no, the sex scene in Dolemite. Yeah, but I mean, like in terms of like, there's like none of these characters seem to be in relationships that matter all that much. I think we see one girlfriend in one party scene. Like for the most part, it's just like these guys who are just like really committed to this idea and trying to make stuff happen for themselves. And it is a quintessentially LA story that way. But like, usually in the sort of like rise to fame stories, there's always the montage of the like, you get your sad orgy from Rocket Man,
or Walk Hard.
Exactly, but like there's no sex in this movie. Like they are all, everybody's got their eyes on the prize.
Right. I mean, to be clear, like they do cover the sex scene that's in Dolemite. But
but I'm talking about the characters off screen.
There's an innocence to the way they present Dolemite's character and arc, or Rudy Ray Moore, in that, it's very much like, hey, look, this is what we're trying to do, but we're also having a good time. Like, we're putting the work in, but it comes from this place of, like, just desire. Like, there's no scheming to it. Like, he's not you see some of these things where you'll see
he gets signed to the label, and you think, oh no, they're going to screw him over, and they don't.
Right, but you see, you'll see stories about people clawing their way to the top, and they don't care who they step on the way up. And this movie presents it's more like Moore is willing to bring along anyone that he thinks is talented and good, and he's cool with that, and he's not trying to, at least the movie will show that he's not trying to screw anyone over. He's not taking advantage of people.
It's like friends in a community.
It's like friends in a community, and he's not above. He'll put whatever work in he needs to do. He'll bitch about it, but he'll put the work in.
Yeah.
And he's not really taking any shortcuts. And that's an interesting something that I hadn't really realized. Now I don't know how true that is necessarily, but the character of Dolemite being this this bad motherfucker who's like, I'm here and wrecking motherfuckers is my game. Like, that's not who Rudy Ray Moore is. No. Right. And he talks about, like, when he first meets Lady Reed, like, he's like, that's just a character. Like, let's come up with and he spots something in her and brings her along. And, the movie does a little bit, maybe go a little over the top with, like, there's a, when she later talks about, like, and I hesitate to say it's a little spoon-fed when she's like, it matters that I never saw anyone like myself on screen.
No, but that's a lovely scene.
It's a lovely scene. I'm a little worried that they overplay it a little bit.
No,
do you recognize, by the way, the actress who plays Lady Reed?
I was just going to say that. Do you know who that is? Divine Joy Randolph, who is Kirsten Dunst's best friend in Becoming a
Guy in
Ghost.
Central Florida,
and
which we're recapping on Patreon.
Yeah, so join us there. No, and she has such tremendous screen presence. She's lovely and sexy and funny and, like, every bit Eddie Murphy's equal and, like, leaps off the screen. But then she also can have a really believably tender moment, like this one that you think does not work.
It's a little on the nose, but by that point in the movie, I was like, I'll allow it. It was, it didn't take me out of it. But yeah, the ensemble is great. Wesley Snipes is hilarious.
Okay, let's talk about Wesley Snipes.
Oh my God.
Right? Like, Wesley Snipes has got, you hear he gets the bad rap for, like, being too in character on the set of Blade. And, all, like, we haven't seen him for a while, but this is a great reminder of, like, Snipes is capable of great work and great comedy.
Comedy, yeah. I mean, like
great comedy. You go, going like back to Wong Fu, he's so funny in that. Yeah. And this is, I would love to see him do more comedy. And he's so great in this as
D'Urville
Martin, he's
like the one guy with any Hollywood cred involved in this production,
and he's
who's just aghast at everything.
Right, and he's drinking his way through the day, and he's just like, okay, fine.
Yeah, like after one really just ridiculous take, he goes, I see no reason to do that again.
Exactly.
We should mention that Craig Brewer directed this. We haven't said the name Craig Brewer yet, and this is sort of in his wheelhouse as well in terms of, like, people who have an artistic dream, whether it's Hustle and Flow or it's his Footloose remake. So he seems to gravitate toward that kind of scrappy outsider character trying to assert themselves creatively as well. The movie moves so beautifully. It's got multiple montages, which I'm like, another montage. It's such a cheap way to do things. But they're all so, like, zippy and fun and charting their progress here. Also, we should mention Ruth E. Carter is your costume designer, Academy Award winner Ruth E. Carter, who she did Black Panther. She's a veteran costume designer, and it's not like cheesy parody, like you're getting dressed up for a Halloween party. It's richly day to day, richly detailed in the polyester and in the fabrics
and the giant
patterns.
Those shirts with the zipper with the ring, she just gets the mundane, and I mean there are some wildly flashy outfits as well, but yeah, just the sort of the quotidian 1970s. She really knows. There's a great ensemble cast here. You've got Titus Burgess and Mike Epps,
Snoop Dogg.
Titus Burgess is great at this. Craig Robinson is playing the guy who wrote the music, which was Don Cornelius wrote the music. I don't know that he's actually playing.
Really? Oh,
Don Cornelius wrote the music for Dolemite. I don't know that Craig Robinson is specifically playing Don Cornelius.
He's not. He's playing someone, Ben Taylor.
Keegan-Michael Key is like the serious playwright who somehow winds up writing the screenplay for this thing. This is just, it has the same kind of charm as Ed would in terms of these people putting together. I mean, like they show you clips from the actual Dolemite over the closing credits. Looks ridiculous. I gotta watch it.
But it's dead
on Amazon. But these people, but it's about people making this thing with such love and making a thing because nobody else was going to do it.
But also one of the things this movie does, and this is where it's different than Ed Wood, like they know they're screwing around. Right, like there's scenes like they cut the clip, the instant replay clip. Like you get to see the instant replay clip when he first showed the movie that's in Dolemite, right? And it's like, oh, these guys knew that
they aren't taking themselves entirely seriously.
Right, it's not. This movie at least puts across the idea that Dolemite is not unintentionally funny.
Sure.
That it's intentionally funny, right? And you catch a bit of that when they're getting the reviews and they're all kind of bummed out until here's the one review that's like, it's lewd and crass,
vulgar,
and coarse and vulgar. He's like, that's great. That's the review we want. It was like, yeah, all right.
Right. Ed Wood thought he was making serious art.
Yeah.
but I don't know, it has that same kind of fun spirit to it, and just like so many great performances. Notably, like the best thing that I mean, I was reminded by our friend Robert. Dreamgirls was 10 years ago.
More than that. 2006, right?
Oh, it was at least 10
It was a
years
while ago, so we've
Yeah.
had a great Eddie Murphy performance.
So, that's been a while for that, and who knows how long it's been since we've had a great Wesley Snipes performance. This movie is just like, it's upbeat and fun and lovely.
It is sheer joy. Okay, so hear me out real fast on my Joker comparisons.
Oh, yes.
All right, so they're both about people who are like scrapping their way toward wanting to be loved and respected as comedians on stage. They are disenfranchised, they are counted out, they are repeatedly discouraged, but they keep coming back because they have this dream of a certain kind of celebrity or stardom or notoriety or something, and they don't care what they have to do. They will make that happen. They both have a dad who is absent. They both have, so Frances Conroy is a mom to Arthur Fleck, and we have Lunel here instead as his auntie. But there are similar kinds of like character details and a similar kind of drive toward this single-minded focus of creative desire that they want to put forth. Boom.
No.
I mean,
nope.
I guess I guess I'll buy that. Like both movies are about protagonists who, at least one of them could legitimately be seen to have challenges. I mean, okay, sure, they both do, but one of them, I would say, Dolemite doesn't approach this from the standpoint of Rudy Ray Moore as a victim, right? Like it acknowledges a lot of the challenges that he's had to go through. One of the things that I found fascinating in this movie, at the risk of sounding like that guy, was the way, like there's the way that Moore and some other folks would talk about, like, oh, you're just from the farm. Like the way that they would, like the inner kind of tension and kind of disparagement within the black community towards like
urban versus rural.
Yeah, like I just found that like that was really interesting. Right, and again, like I don't want to sound like that guy, but that was a thing that the movie even acknowledges that because outside of that community, I don't think that gets a lot of coverage. And so that the movie, because the thing that like there's this scene where Moore is kind of ranting into the mirror, kind of his complaints about his father or his stepfather and where he is now compared to where his stepfather ever was. That ends up becoming something in the movie and something that he and his friends share. And that was an interesting moment and kind of a little bit of insight over and above the obvious stuff that you get within that community.
And that's also like, that's kind of how he bonds with the Keegan-Michael Key character. Right. They both got the hell out of Arkansas. Like, I think that, I mean, look, it's not my place to say whether or not this movie gets the racial politics or the racial milieu right. But even though the screenwriters are white, I think you have a black director and a mostly black cast.
Craig Brewer's white.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I never knew this. I thought he was black.
All right.
Oh my God, I have no idea. Okay, so there's a white director and white creators. I still think that, like, obviously Eddie Murphy is not going to take on a thing where, you know, he doesn't believe that it's being presented correctly because he is. Oh my God. Thing I learned. Today I learned Craig Brewer is a white guy. Okay.
Craig Robinson is the black guy.
Well, yes, not all Craigs. Okay. No. Anyway, so I can't speak to that obviously, but I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that, you know, the everybody else involved with this film would have either like not signed on or would have had notes or whatever if they, you know, knew better. And I'm sure, obviously, you know, Rudy Ray Moore is an antecedent of Murphy's in a lot of way in terms of being this really kind of, you know, bold stand-up. He's sort of like, he's the guy between Red Fox and Eddie Murphy. Well, and Richard Pryor, obviously, that same generation. Right. So I'm sure Murphy was familiar with his life and knew his stuff.
Right, but, you know, he also, you know, arguably goes farther than Red Fox and, you know, Red Fox and Pryor were going into areas of language in a different direction than Rudy Ray Moore. I mean, again, you basically see Rudy Ray Moore like, oh, I'm going to pull all these old tired jokes and ramp them up and make them my own.
Right.
And the audience responded to him, right? Similar, like, I don't want to necessarily use Andrew Dice Clay as a comparison, but it's a little bit similar, like, man, you're getting laughs with that stuff? And there were people, like, as he's talking about it, like, his friends were like, this is never going to work, right? You're not going to get laughs from the stuff that Rico comes in and, like, the crap that he lays on us. And what Moore sees in there is this, like, oh, there's potential there, and I'm going to ramp it up, and I'm going to go so over the top.
Right.
You know, and it works. And the other thing I liked about this is you get, and I think Murphy sells this really well, like, kind of the salesmanship, as well as, it's not just the salesmanship, but like no one sells like a true believer, right? And Murphy's presentation of Moore is that, like, he can think on his feet and he'll come up with anything to close the deal and seal the deal and really make that connection. But by the same token, you know, towards the end of the movie, you see him like, oh, there's people that are going to wait out here for 2 hours to see this movie. All right, I'm here for them. Right, like, I'm going to be here with them. I'm not going to go sit in the movie, and that is not unearned, because you see that aspect of him all along in the film. So when he, you know, there'd be other stories where somebody would do that similar thing, like, that's a little hackneyed, but this one, it fits in with the way they're presenting that character.
He's a man of the people is what he is. All right, so what are your numbers then,
So
friends?
this movie is it's in theaters right now, limited, but it's going to be premiering on Netflix in a few weeks, right? Or early November?
We saw it at Netflix.
Yeah,
but not on a TV.
If it is not showing in a theater near you, it will be on Netflix very soon.
Okay. I'm saying 8. It's a total blast.
I said 7.8. I had a great time.
I don't know why you guys liked it not as much as me. I give it an 8.5. I'm changing my number.
Oh.
8.5.
Hang on.
Just add 0.3.
Don't make me do math.
Add point.
Oh, that's an 8.1.
8.1. Okay, it's at 98% on the tomato meter. Everyone likes it because it's awesome. So go check out Dolemite is My Name. And then if you have not already seen the original Dolemite, that's a fun thing to do as well.
Yes, you can rent it on Amazon.
Watch it with the kids. Dolemite is for the children.
And Dolemite is My Name is also right about another thing. The Billy Wilder remake of The Front Page is not his best work. Okay. Thanks for watching.
I talk serious shit about that movie.
Thanks for watching. Like this video, subscribe to our channels, follow us at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and do go visit us at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay, where we offer up movie news, trailers, reviews, and TV recaps. Right now we're talking about On Becoming a God in Central Florida, and we're getting to Watchmen when that premieres on HBO, and other fun stuff as well. So check it out. If you're already a subscriber, thanks a lot, and we'll see you all next time.
Thanks, friends.
Bye.